My fellow Americans, I want to talk to you plainly tonight about what we're doing in Korea and about our policy in the Far East. In the simplest terms, what we're doing in Korea is this. We're trying to prevent a third world war.
The Second World War had definite issues that you understood. I certainly didn't understand why we were going to Korea.
We went to war in Korea to stop a war in Korea. Regardless of the reason for war, we cannot prevent the war veterans will be battling with themselves their whole lives. There is no known number of veterans who suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, and even less is known of the number of veterans who commit suicide once they return. Research has been done, but not enough to prevent or even understand just how much war impacts people's lives. Raymond Collins is one veteran who, after returning from the front lines in Korea, suffered greatly from post-traumatic stress disorder.
He went to Korea in 1952. He was 23 when he went overseas. He was overseas 14 months. He was online for about 8 months of that, off and on. He came back in December 1953.
Raymond would suffer for the rest of his life over something that only took place a little over a year. Family members as well suffer and find it difficult to cope.
I just coped. You learn a new way of life.
Carol worked with Raymond before he left for Korea. Once Raymond was sent away, he wrote letters to Carol. She fell in love with him through the letters, but she also learned of the horrors Raymond experienced. One incident was not even during a battle. It involved a tank that accidentally rolled off a hill and hit 2 Korean workers. He writes in his letters, "There was not enough left of the poor kid to pick up. Not even with time did Raymond recover from Korea."
He had never been very talkative per se, but he liked to kid around and had a good sense of humor. He still had that, but he was very reflective and oftentimes seemed very depressed. The worst, no physical injuries. He was not wounded or anything, but he suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder the rest of his life. And at the end of his life, it was getting worse. He was getting very, very depressed and upset about things he saw and things that happened when he was in Korea.
Raymond and Carol got married a little while after Raymond returned. Several years later, Raymond was suffering from lung problems.
He was infected with this fungus on the Mojave Desert. He was on maneuvers on the Mojave in California before he was sent to Korea. We did think he would get some kind of help because of his, he was not able to work for a good 2 years, but we got no help from the government on that. He was turned down by the Veterans Administration, who, even though the doctors who operated on him and who treated him said that the infection was long-standing, at least 5 years, the doctors insisted that he had gotten it when we lived in Phoenix just a year before. When he first got sick or showed symptoms, it appeared that he had tuberculosis, so they put him in a TB sanatorium. And he was there 2 months undergoing tests of all kinds. They discovered he did not have tuberculosis, but he did pick up the germ there, and years later it made him sick.
For the most part, veterans are treated and helped with physical injuries, but almost never for mental illness.
There's an assumption that you can take a young man or woman from a normal daily life and put them in a situation where they're not only being shot at, that's not really the worst of it, but they're seeing people being killed, sometimes in terrible ways, and not just their friends and their buddies, but civilians, people, children who have nothing to do with the wars. And they see them blown up and sometimes shot, doesn't matter which side they are, that affects them. If they're at all a caring person, then they never get over seeing that.
For so many troops and their families, the war doesn't end when they come home. Just the other day, we learned that the Army had a record number of suicides last year, 115 soldiers took their own life in 2007. That's a staggering reminder of the terrible cost of war.